This is the Seahawkers podcast, episode 491. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and I am joined by my good buddy Adam Emmert as we go into the final week of the 2025 regular season. How you doing, bud?
Oh, man, I am fired up. If you don't love this sort of thing, then you don't love football. This is amazing, and I'm just excited, Brandon, that the Santa Clara 49ers invited us down to have a Super Bowl practice. Since the Super Bowl's in their building, It's a great place to go down and practice against a team that certainly won't be there. And, just kind of get a feel for the Dedham Stadium. It'll be great.
Get a feel for the conditions. Then after this week, then you just have 2 more weeks of wins, and then you're back in that building for the final game of the season.
It's Super Bowl practice, and there's no better team to go out and do that against than the Winers. So I'm excited, but in all seriousness, number 1 seed on the line, division on the line, all of that stuff, just awesome. This is why we watch these games. It's so much fun.
There is so much to talk about with this upcoming matchup with the Niners, and I feel like so little to talk about from the game coming out against the Carolina Panthers. And we even said it going in. Exactly. We even said going into the Panthers game, it's like, this is just the game that we have to get through to get to the final game of the season. And it played out in the field that way. You get the 27-10 win. It doesn't really it was a little bit iffy, like late in the game, kind of, because it was within a score and you turned it over. And, if Julian Love doesn't get that pick or, who knows what happens. But that offense didn't go anywhere. The defense was shutting them down. And maybe a nice practice game then ahead of the Niners.
That's absolutely right. I want to, again, thank the Carolina Panthers for being a speed bump on our way to the Super Bowl, and enjoyed their little effort down there. And it was a great tune-up game. And, you're saying, it's a little closer to like at times or whatever. And you don't know exactly how it was going. Yeah, we did. We know exactly how it was going to go. Whether it's exactly how it went or any other permutation, 99.9% of the time, the Seahawks are coming out of that game with a win. Mainly because the quarterback can't throw it out of his own shadow. So at the end of the day, that happened, in just a confirmation of what this team is. And going into this week against another team that, how seriously do you take these clowns? I don't know. We can talk about it. That's for sure.
Okay. I feel like you have to take them somewhat seriously, just from the perspective of, hey, they're another 12-win team. What Kyle Shanahan has done from a coaching perspective this year, and what Robert Saleh's done from a coaching perspective, losing Nick Bosa, losing Fred Warner with that talent, enough for the defense to keep them relatively competitive. So when the offense is firing, they can go and rack up the points against some other bad defenses. They're able to put 12 wins. They're in second place in our is it in our conference even? Because they would be second place in the conference, right behind us. So to go through the injuries, to have Brock Purdy go down and have Mac Jones step in, and it's kind of impressive.
Yeah, it's kind of impressive. And then you start kind of peeling the layers of this onion back a little bit to see just how impressive this is. I have a quiz question here for you, Brandon.
Yeah.
In the last 13 weeks, how many teams with a winning record have the San Francisco 49ers beat? 13.
In the last
13 weeks.
13. 3. 2.
Still too high.
Oh, just one?
Just one. The Chicago Bears, which they barely eked past with a miracle finish because their defense blows and Caleb happened to miss one throw at the end. Just golf clap to you guys, 49ers, just dominating a bunch of tomato cans as you go through your schedule, and then act as if that you're the most clutch team in the league and you're going to the Super Bowl. And it's unbelievable, man, the amount of overrating of this delightfully mediocre team that is the Santa Clara 49ers.
Wow, so all of those were stacked up, because I know that they're 4-3 against playoff teams. And that's what it was. I was a little bit surprised to see that it was 4-3. And when we've had 5 wins, I think the Seahawks are 5-2. So we've each played 7 playoff caliber teams this season. The Bucs not in that conversation because I mean they could be, I suppose, if they end up beating the Panthers somehow.
In theory, the stat you just listed was that they have played 7 playoff teams?
7 teams that are currently in the playoff picture.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out who that would be. So I'm looking here at the Niners schedule. I guess one is us.
Yeah.
Jacksonville.
2 against the Rams.
Rams. Okay, you're going to count Rams twice. All right, fair enough.
Well, yeah, they played them twice.
Maybe Carolina. That's 5.
Yeah.
The Bears, and then us would be 7. Okay.
No, that's before us. Did you count the Texans?
I think so.
Okay.
Maybe not.
Texans, Jaguars.
All right. Well, they lost to the Texans anyways because they
Right.
can't beat teams with a winning record. The last, other than the Bears, the only other team they've beat currently with a winning record was the Rams back in week, what's this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6, whatever it was.
Okay. So I might have been right with 2. But
yeah.
Point differential in those games was a thing that really jumped out at me. So both teams have played 7 games against current playoff teams. Seahawks 5-2, Niners 4-3. Their point differential against those 7 teams, -10. They're actually -10 point differential in those 7 games with 4 wins. The Seahawks point differential +42.
Wow. What a massive difference there. And that really does tell the tale of the tape in a lot of ways because we do look at point differential, at least I do, as one of the more important stats that I look at. And I really do think that kind of gives you an idea of how dominant or not dominant a team is. And being -10 is unbelievable. Like, that just kind of goes to show that they've poured a horseshoe out of their butt more times than not to get to that record that they've got there, the 12 wins that's 3/4 half fraudulent.
So coming up against the Santa Clara 49ers, Adam, I guess one of the places, I don't know if we should necessarily start here, but the way that last season finished for Sam Darnold and the way that this season now is finishing for Sam Darnold, the fact that he's had this opportunity to kind of go on a revenge tour this season against the Carolina Panthers, against the Minnesota Vikings, and now a team that he was on the backup behind Brock Purdy and never really even given that much of a chance to start on this 49ers team. Now that he gets to close the season with having the loss in the opening game of the season with the Seahawks, now closing against the Niners, this opportunity for Sam, and again, how it shakes back to last year with the Vikings. They were 14-2 with the opportunity to clinch the number 1 seed. They had to go on the road. They had to do it in the Detroit Lions building, who they were also a 2-loss team. And here they are playing for the division title. Sam has maybe one of his worst games, which I think was the deciding factor for the Vikings to be okay with moving on. Because I think a lot of Seahawks fans, like if they didn't watch Vikings football last year, they probably look at the Vikings and they're like, why would you give up on this dude? Like he has us within the opportunity to have the number 1 seed, first round bye. He's got all these wins now in back-to-back seasons. What were they thinking? And the thinking was because of that final regular season game, which had them as either clinching a home field spot or being the wild card
1
team
seed,
and
right?
the 1 seed.
Yeah.
And had one of the worst games of definitely last season and only put up 9 points against the Detroit Lions, who were down Aiden Hutchinson at that point. And now he has the chance to kind of come back around and do it all over again, the exact same situation, but it's against the Niners instead of the Lions.
It is. And this is why football is beautiful, is it often just comes full circle. And I'm really glad that you brought up what happened to Sam at the end of last year in that game at Detroit, because of all the things that when he was brought in that I was more than hesitant about, That was the game. The next playoff game against the Rams, I don't know how many times I need to say it, but like, look, he got bum rushed. The offensive line was terrible in that game. He had no chance. I'm not putting that on Sam Darnold, and that was before we signed him. That was my sentiment about that. But that Detroit game was very much on him. That was awful, and it was one of those things that made you just have a lot of pause, and the Vikings obviously did. They had spent a high draft pick in McCarthy, and so it makes a lot of sense to move on at that point. And I'm fired up for Sam because football is beautiful. It gives you second chances at times that you would never dream you would ever have. So to be able to go on the road with the number 1 seed on the line and take that next step after having begun to slay the dragon by coming back against the Rams, right? And turn this narrative around. Because, Brandon, you've been on aircraft carriers. Like, how fast do they turn?
It's a very slow turning radius.
It's a slow turn. And this narrative that's been around, Sam, is an aircraft carrier-sized narrative, right? So it's not like it turns in one game with the Rams. This is the next step. The opportunity's right in front of you. And you've got the team around you. You've got a better coach. You've got a better defense. And you've got a decent offensive scheme here, and you're going against a worse opponent in this version of the Niners compared to that version of the Lions, even though the Lions defense was all beat up in that game. This is awesome. I can't wait for Sam to go out there and take that next step to really just completely driving the dagger in the heart of this narrative that has been following him around for a while. Will this game be the one that completely closes that chapter? No. But he went and got it done against the Rams, gets it done here, and then if he wins one playoff game, and let's say they lose the second one even, right? Like, you don't even have to go all the way to Super Bowl. And it wasn't his fault. He played a clean game. I'm ready to put that narrative down at that point. Like, once is a coincidence, twice is a trend, 3 times is a you problem. Like, give me 3 times where you did it, and I'm in.
The funny thing is, though, too, about that is that it was really that Lions game that really even gave the Seahawks an opportunity to probably sign Sam Darnold. Because if you remember the conversation going into that Lions game, it was more of, okay, Sam Darnold has turned his career around completely. If he ends up getting the number 1 seed and going into the playoffs and, hey, maybe even winning a playoff game, you have the second round bye at that point. If he even puts together a game that, again, it wasn't his fault, but they take the L, they're probably looking at signing him and trading him for draft picks, like a franchise tag type thing, because they could have franchise tagged him. They opted not to. And that's then what allows him to be a free agent and for John Schneider to take a run at him in the offseason.
You bet. Actually, when I was on with the guys on the Skull podcast about franchising Sam and what that would look like, and when I brought that up, there was nothing but scoffs. Nobody thought that would have at all been a good idea. And I think even if he had maybe won those games, I'm not sure that they franchise tag him. That's a massive amount of money for a guy who had just done it for a year. That's tough to do. But at the end of the day, he was available. John Schneider was able to negotiate early and have that deal in place so that he could get rid of Geno. And it all worked out for John in the end. And it's been an interesting ride, man, because we look at how this season has gone and this opportunity Sam has in front of him. And one of the keys to making sure he cashes in on this opportunity is not turning the ball over. And it's like, okay, well, how many times this year, Brendan, how many games has Sam Darnold had a clean game, no turnovers?
I bet it's less than 5, and maybe
5 on the dot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, shoot, if you're counting the Carolina game, which we shouldn't.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's totally fair enough, because honestly, that was a forward pass, and I'm pretty sure that wasn't an interception by Mike Jack. Like, shin-toe, I don't know, when you look at that one there. So 5-6 games. I mean,
shin-toe control even.
Yeah. You put it all into perspective that way. So, half the time he's come through within a cleanish game to this point. little less than half the time.
Yeah. And
that makes you pucker a little bit.
Well, I feel like it's something that we touch on every week, and you have to, because it's something that the team as a whole has then had to overcome, because generally it's not like those turnovers happen as you're nearing the end zone. A lot of I bet if you were to go back and look, a lot of them are probably more on our side of the field than the other side of the field, and that then puts that extra pressure on the defense, where it's kind of, gosh, if the defense just had to play on the other side of the 50-yard line most of the year, I think that their points allowed would be a lot closer to the Texans than it is right now. And it's still like within 30 points, and the Texans defense has been crazy good at limiting points on opposing teams. And I just think about that one little difference. If the defense had that added bonus of not turning it over, that it's probably a whole lot closer.
Yeah, it probably is a whole lot closer. And at the end of the day, it's one of those things that, yeah, we do have to talk about. I know some people are frustrated talking about it, but when the quarterback leads all quarterbacks in total turnovers with 20 so far on the year, like, that's a big deal. And honestly, this team is probably either a one-loss or undefeated team coming into this game if Sam could half his turnovers. You know what I mean? And that would be a big step up. And, you know, leading the league in turnovers by quarterbacks over everybody, including Geno Cyril Smith. So, like, that's something to keep in mind as well as we look at how this season has gone forward. But in this matchup, I love that this is Sam's opportunity, because this defense the 49ers are trotting out that has been riddled with injuries is legit dog water. It's awful.
Who?
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Yeah, way to steal the who bit. I love it. Yeah.
Their defense is kind of a who team right now. They have, it's the San Francisco Diamador Lenores on the defensive side of the ball. And that's no disrespect to our guy, CJ West, who we really liked coming out of the draft. But, you look at that defensive line, and I mean, Bryce Huff is like their leading pass rusher. And I was waiting for the injury news this week, because Josh Jones, he had an ankle and a knee reported on the injury report on Tuesday. They didn't practice, but it was, one of those estimated practice reports. And then they signed Amari Kite from the practice squad. And you're thinking, oh gosh, is this worse than, like, are we going to be starting Amari Kite against the Niners? And then, Bryce Huff is good enough to where, like, he could have a good day against a guy like Amari Kite.
Absolutely. And I was trying to save this to last, because this is really the only concern I have offensively for the Seahawks in this game, is the idea that it looks as if Charles Cross will not be back. Yeah. Although Mike said it's a non-zero chance that he might. So, like, he's saying there's a chance there. And then hearing the Josh Jones injury news, it was like, wait, what? No, we can't have that at all. We'll see where that goes. But besides that, if you can put that, the one position at left tackle, which is a massive position, so it's not to be taken lightly. If you can put that aside, this offense and Sam Darnold has an incredible opportunity to go out there and put up a bunch of points. Because I truly believe, Brandon, this offense, this Kubiak offense, is clicking the most when they're running the ball pretty effectively. And this Niners team has given up over 100 yards 3 out of the last 4 games.
Which is kind of wild, considering that a lot of their moves in the offseason were to bolster that defensive line in the run game in particular. Like, not a lot of pass rushers. Like, CJ West, probably the best interior pass rusher that they have, and they actually picked a guy in the first round on defensive line that to also fix the run game up the middle. So it is really evident watching that defense these last 2 weeks against the Phil Rivers-led Colts, who, he had trouble pushing the ball downfield against our Seahawks defense. And then you watched him the following week against the Niners, and it was like old Phil Rivers just throwing the ball all over the place. And it's like, wait a second, like, was our defense, like, how much of that was him being back 1 week, and how much is it just the difference between the Niners defense and the Seahawks defense? And the answer is probably a little bit of both, but yeah, he could sit back and he didn't have to worry about getting hit because there wasn't much pressure coming toward him.
1,000%. And that's why, again, I'm so excited for Sam in this spot, because he gets to go in, get that number 1 seed, get that monkey off his back against a team that is coached by Robert Saleh on defense, who isn't like Brian Flores, right? Like, he's not having 8 up in, trying to get you mugged up in the A gap and all that stuff. He rushes 4 primarily and plays a pretty conservative brand of defensive football as a whole. So those real confusing looks that do give Sam problems when you do get everybody up on the line, that's something they do. Now, we'll see if it's a change they make for this game.
Right.
But traditionally speaking, not something they do. So you've got a bad defense that doesn't do the one thing that really gives this quarterback problems. And all of a sudden, this looks like a hell of a day for Sam Darnold.
Very zone-heavy defense. Yeah, like you said, not a lot of blitzing and inability to get pressure with 4. If they do change it up, what would be a way that you would expect early on? If say those first and second quarter, we actually do see Saleh blitzing Darnold a little bit, how do you think we see Kubiak respond?
I think it's going to be a lot of what we've seen to this point, like he'll get to a bubble here and there, have a built-in slant or a quick sit route, like built into the play, somewhere where you can replace the blitz quickly, right? On the interception Sam threw last week, or the alleged interception, let's put it that way, in Carolina, Clinton and I broke it down in 3 and 3 out. And if you haven't seen that, go back and watch it. That was a lot of fun. Clinton did a great job picking out some really cool plays to go through. And one of the things that Clinton pointed out in that breakdown is with that blitz that Carolina brought, Kubiak had a built-in sit route right there for Barner, just almost right over the ball. It was wide open. And if you get to that right now, then that's a completion and you're moving on. So Clint Kubiak has answers for Sam. If Saleh breaks tendency here and sends a lot of blitzes, but when you're playing the types of dudes on defense that you are in terms of the Niners, you can't take a lot of risks blitzing. If you're already inclined to not do that, with the personnel that you have on the field at this point in the year, you're probably even less inclined to do it, would be my guess.
Well, and I think Caleb Williams probably would have been a guy that maybe you would have wanted to try that out with too, because he's a guy that you would want to hurry into some bad decisions. And Caleb Williams against this Niners defense had all kinds of time. And as they pointed out on that broadcast, there were several throws where dudes were just running wide open and Caleb targeted them. Like, he saw them and he threw to them and he missed them.
Yeah.
And Sam's not going to do that.
Not on the regular. Definitely not. When it comes to, if you're comparing Sam and Caleb and their games a little bit here, Caleb has done a really good job taking care of the ball, honestly, in his full first 2 years, and give him a lot of credit for that. That was something I did not see coming out of that guy. Like, it genuinely surprises me. But when you're comparing the two guys, Darnold's accuracy as a whole, far superior to Caleb at this point in his career. And I still think Caleb's under 60% for the year, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that, but just off the top of my head, I think it's somewhere in there. And with that being the case, Sam isn't going to miss wide open JSN streaking across the field. Like, that ain't happening.
Yeah, Caleb, you are correct. 57.9% in 2025.
There you go. With a quarterback that can barely hit the broadside of a barn at 50 feet with Caleb at this point in his career. Still gave up, what was it last week? Was it 79 points to the Bears or like 143? I don't know. I lost track after about the 17th touchdown.
Man, 42-38 game, and the Bears had that opportunity too to get that touchdown in the end that would have put it up, 45-42 to close out that game and just couldn't get it in on that fourth down. Watching that game was kind of a little frustrating too. And I'm not even a Bears fan. They had I don't know who's number 2 for the Bears, but he's they have that play.
DJ Moore. And no wonder you would forget.
DJ Moore. They roll. So a veteran, I don't understand this. On the final play, Caleb rolls to the left. Everybody, all the receivers over there to the left, the entire Niners defense comes to the left. And DJ just stands up in the back corner of the end zone all the way on the opposite side of the field, jumping up and down like Caleb's going to find him, all in the open over there with all the pass rushers and everybody around him. Dude, you're a vet. How do you not come back toward the ball even a little bit?
DJ Moore has been a freelancer a lot of his career. He does a lot of stuff that makes you scratch your head. This is the same dude that in the middle of a play last year just walked off the field and went and sat down on the bench. So, I'm not stunned that's a DJ Moore move there. But at the end of the day, look, this 49ers defense in Robert Saleh and everything that they've done, it's adorable. It's adorable what they've been able to do when you lose all of your best players and then are able to scratch together quite a few wins against dumpster fire teams with a negative 10-point differential. It's just cute. It's like, looking at a cute puppy. It's so nice. I just wanted to give them a little bit of credit for just how amazing it is that they think that they are at the NFC West big boy table at this point, because they're clearly still at the children's table. This team is not on par with the Seahawks or the Rams, as much as Niner fan wants to think they are.
Oh, and they do.
I know.
They've convinced themselves over these past few weeks with all these wins that, hey, we are a big boy team even after losing to the Rams, because that was the low point for Niners fans when they get trucked by the Rams and they're like, oh yeah, there's no chance that we're doing anything. Is this even a playoff team? And now that it is an actual playoff team, it's they're feeling it.
They're feeling it. And look, they might as well feel it now while, the roller coaster's at the peak here, because after we go down there, whoop up on them, get our practice in for the upcoming Super Bowl, it's going to be a rough go for them in the playoffs. They're certainly a one and done team in my opinion.
Yeah, no matter what, even if they somehow get a bye, to where then they're taking on even the worst team that wins in the first round of the playoffs, I feel like should be able to go in and clean up in Ninerland. But okay, so with this defense being an issue for them, I am curious who outside of Sam, who do you see being the biggest factor on offense then for Seattle? If you were to predict, I don't know, the likelihood of who the top guy that we're going to be talking about after their day against the Niners defense on Saturday.
Yeah, it's going to be Ken Charbonnet. and the reason I say it that way is one of those two dudes, whoever it is that has the hot hand, that hopefully Kubiak finally kind of figures it out and says, look, this is the guy that's making it happen today, give him the majority of the carries. But I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to be able to run the football in this game very effectively in comparison to even against the plucky Panthers, right? That's a defense that plays hard and a good scheme and all of that. But even with their personnel, which I think is lesser personnel than many defenses, especially in the NFC, the Niners are even levels below that personnel wise.
Yeah.
And I think the Seahawks will be able to bully their way right down the field with the run game. And whether that's Ken or Sharbs, I don't know. But take your pick.
Well, and that's why I was curious of your answer, because you could go with JSN in this game, who I don't think they're going to match up. Diamador Lenore is not a man-to-man. They don't play man-to-man corner. And so it's not like you're going to travel Lenore around with JSN. That's just not something that the 49ers do on defense. And so that's why I think it creates then opportunities for Jackson Smith and Jigba. I think there's opportunities for A.J. Barner in this game against this linebacking core. Like, if Fred Warner were out there, then I'd say, yeah, maybe A.J. Barner has more of a game like his first game of the season where he caught one pass for 0 yards and only had 2 targets. Like, he was a non-factor in week 1 against the Niners defense. He can be a factor in this game against the Niners in week 18. Rashid Shaheed, it sounds like he's practicing as of Wednesday. So coming out of the concussion, like, that's a good first step. Because if it's a severe enough concussion that you're not getting out there even on the practice field, if he's out there and can stretch this defense, like, he could be that X factor type player that we're talking about, maybe in the receiving game, maybe also on special teams. So, like, there's all of these different options of who could be that guy against this defense.
In actuality, when you go through the Niners defensive starters here at this point in the year, you look at that and you go, there is not one position where you look at and go, they have the advantage personnel-wise. Not one. That's taking into account.
At least with the Panthers, they had a pair of corners, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you can be like, all right, I can give you a little bit of credit there, and we'll see how that goes. And it went poorly for them, but at the end of the day, these guys are ripe for the picking defensively, and it's just so perfect for Sam to go out there and have a big day and just drive a stake into the heart of the wine and cheese Santa Clara Winers. Like, I'm here for it, man. I can't wait. This is going to be fun. A lot of these games, like big divisional games for something like the number 1 seed, these would be things that bring me a lot of anxiety. Don't have that for this week because, honestly, Brandon, the delta between our defense and the Niners defense is so catfish massive that they're just right there. I feel like the Seahawks should be favored by 7.
And they're not.
I know. Wild.
Okay, so there's the delta between the defense, which is large. But also, okay, a 49ers fan who has watched the last couple weeks in that Shanahan offense, they'd say, oh, well, Kyle's going to put up points against anybody. And can this Kyle Shanahan offense put up more than 20 points against the Seahawks defense? Like,
that would be my over-under, to be honest, if you had me set the line, like 20.5.
That's what it feels like to me, but I've also seen them put up a lot of points the last couple weeks.
Oh, me too.
But keeping in mind, it's the Colts defense who was playing on pure emotion against our Seahawks offense. I think the Phillip Rivers comeback game, and then like all of that went away, and they went back to being like legit terrible.
Yeah, I mean, let's just look at the last few weeks. So they go up, they put up a bunch of points against the Chicago Bears, which the only thing the Bears defense does is get turnovers. Like, that's their one thing. Like, they rely completely on that. Otherwise, they're kind of a dumpster fire of a defense. Indy, you just put it beautifully about them playing high on emotion when they came into Seattle and then come back down to earth in game 2 in the Phil Rivers second era there. Tennessee Titans defense, we saw that defense. That was fun. Cleveland, who only gives a shit about playing good on defense when they play the Steelers. They don't care if it's not Steelers or Ravens, right? And so since San Francisco's not one of those teams, whip-de-doo, we just saw the Carolina defense, which is so-so. Still put up 27. Yeah, we put up 27 points. They put up 20. Woo! And then the Cardinals defense, which hasn't been good since... Oh, yeah, never. What part of that am I supposed to be impressed by?
First Calais Campbell tour when Patrick Peterson was still on the team, like they had
they were mediocre. I wouldn't put them in the good group. Those 2 players were fantastic, but the group as a whole.
I don't know. I feel like there was a time where it was respectable when Budda Baker, Patrick Peterson, and Calais Campbell were all in the field together.
Yeah. Delightfully average, which is better than where they've been, this last couple of years. And I know Cardinal fan, I'm sure no Cardinal fan listens to this because
they've checked out
why would any one of the 3? Yeah, and life probably, but I know they were a little better last year than they were this year, but whatever. Doesn't matter. But you just look at that. Is that a murderer's row where you're like, oh, my gosh, look at Brock Purdy. They all think he's the second coming of Joe Montana crossed with Steve Young. I heard Grant Cohn say that on his podcast to his dad the other day. And just like, I think his combination is Joe Montana and Steve Young. Sure, if they turn the ball over a catfish ton more than they ever did.
The one play against the Bears where he ran to the outside and then kind of stopped on a dime and rolled back a little bit. That was maybe the best play I've ever seen from Brock Purdy. And so I can understand that recency bias. You look at that one play and you go, obviously he's Patrick Mahomes now.
Yeah. Oh, without question. I mean, that's what Chris Collinsworth told us on the broadcast, and I give him credit for making fun of himself about it. Like, that was actually pretty freaking funny. Yeah, but no, and the funny part was, it's like, that's not even a Mahomes play. That's a Russell Wilson play. That looks exactly like something peak Russ would have done, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It
did look awfully familiar.
But at the end of the day, how did that game start out, Brandon?
With a Brock Purdy pick six.
With a 36. Yeah. And he had another turdy in that game as well. And speaking of Purdy turdies, Nemhauser put out a graphic talking about interception rate. And I don't remember the exact number, but it's right in line with where Sam is. And everybody, including me and the national media, everybody's on Sam about the turnovers, and rightfully so. But then they just gloss over Mr. Turdy and all of the Purdy turdies he throws up week in, week out, and act like it doesn't really happen. Well, it does happen. It happened twice in the last game. They won't survive that crap if they pull that against the Seahawks.
No, and I think the reason why Purdy gets away with it for this year is that the injuries have limited that number as far as an overall number. So the percentages are there, but the overall number isn't there because he hasn't been healthy. And so that's why I think he gets away with it a little bit this year.
That might be the case. In offensively speaking, this could be a tough game for the Niners, not just outside of play the Seattle defense, which, best in football. That's tough to deal with. But you're looking up and down the injury report here, Brandon, and, McCaffrey's questionable with the back. He says it's fine.
He'll play.
But you saw him doing back stretches and stuff on the sidelines during the Bears game. Yeah. Pearsall's got a knee. Kittle, he's still working himself back from the ankle from 2 weeks ago. Juszczyk is questionable. Trent Williams has a hamstring, and it's not at all certain that he comes back, and he's easily their best offensive lineman by far. Man, without those boys, or even half those boys, good effing luck.
Well, the one that would be the most critical of all those would be Christian McCaffrey. And yes, he's the one that I think would be, I don't see him sitting out. Like, he's going to play. Speaking of Grant Cohn, I think I heard him mention how McCaffrey is like close to 1,000 yards on both receiving and rushing. It's not that close receiving because he's like 120 yards away from 1,000 yards receiving. And he hasn't had a 100-yard receiving game all season. So to expect them to come out and go so heavy, Christian McCaffrey, that he's going to have 120 receiving yards against this defense out of the backfield. I know he's good. I don't think he's like that amazing that he's going to just get all those yards through the air. If they do, I'd be concerned. I'd be concerned though if McCaffrey has a better than 3.5 yard per carry average against this defense. That if he's able to do that, those are the games that the Niners have been able to win, because I think he is the most important member of that 49ers offense.
You are 1,000% correct and 0% wrong. It really does start and stop with CMC. And we watched him week 1. And again, that was like 3 seasons ago, it feels like. And the Seahawks actually kept him pretty well contained for the majority of that game. The Niners offense didn't light the world on fire. But again, that was back
points.
in 1906 when they played, right? Like, it was forever ago. At the end of the day, when I'm looking at this, I'm looking at you got to stop Christian McCaffrey first and foremost. They were able to stop Jonathan Taylor. They're able to stop Bijan Robinson. They're able to stop Rico Dowdle last week when we were told all about how dangerous he was. They've stopped everybody that's come along their way running the football. I don't expect that to miraculously disappear against Christian McCaffrey in this game. You do that, you make Purdy have to go out and beat you. For me personally, what I'm most afraid of out of this 49ers offense, outside of CMC, are those 15-yard digs. Like, that's where Purdy really does, I feel, carve teams up. And keep an eye on that. And I hope Mike's got a plan for that in really protecting the middle of the field in the passing game. Make Purdy stay in the pocket. Try to beat you outside the hashes, outside the numbers, and have yourself a day and go home the number 1 seed. Like that's how it's done.
So going back to Christian McCaffrey and the day that he had in week 1, yes, that was the 1900s, it feels like, which is also, I wouldn't expect you to know this stat, but it is kind of an important one and an important difference in these two games. Do you remember how many snaps Nick Emanwari had in week 1 against the San Francisco 49ers?
Wow, that's a really good question because it is a big difference. He had 2. Like, did he get
4.
Hurt on the second play?
He got hurt, and he had 4 total snaps.
And he already had a TFL in that time on those four snaps. So that's a great point because E-Man being in this game, like, how do you see that changing this matchup in comparison to week 1?
I think that it stops a lot of those little outside bubble type things. I think that he's, being in the box, a guy that can help defend McCaffrey. Shoot, if it's a guy to where he's rolling out to his side to where he has coverage responsibility, I don't see Purdy throwing and having much success throwing outside to Christian McCaffrey if it's Emanwari's side where he has responsibility.
Absolutely. And you talk about coverage as a whole. In listening to Daniel Jeremiah on Brock and Salk the other day, he was talking about the difference between this matchup and the week 1 matchup. And his big thing was this secondary plays a lot tighter at this point in the season, and the coverage is a lot more sticky, and it makes it for some really tight, difficult windows. And Purdy didn't exactly light it up in week 1. And this defense is playing that much better now. And then you talked about Emanwari there and some of the things he can do, especially with matching up with, say, Kittle and or McCaffrey at any given point and what that means for this team. But the other part about Emanwari being on the field, along with Spoon at the same time, is Shanahan's always wanted to spread you out horizontally and then vertically. He wants to get you moving side to side and then start taking the shots down the seams and stuff. You can't get horizontal on this defense when Spoon and Emanwari are out there. There hasn't been a team in football that's been able to do it. And it won't start this upcoming Saturday. Like, despite Kyle Shanahan being a crybaby catfish, it's about having to play on Saturday.
That's wild, too. Okay, I can kind of understand. I do feel like the Saturday game does give Seattle a slight advantage in terms of just the number of games. So they've had to play 3 games in, 13 days? To how that works out, because they played on Monday night against the Indianapolis Colts, then they play Sunday night and now Saturday. If you go back that week that the Niners played on Monday, that was the week that we played the Thursday night game against the Rams. So definitely fewer games for us in the same amount of time span of these 13, 14 days.
Okay, so what?
I love that they're thinking about it too.
Oh, I know. Kyle's quote was something along the lines. I asked him for 10 seconds, I was bitter about it. Do you mean 10 seconds? Do you mean 10 days? I think you misspoke, Kyle. He's already crying about it. You know what Coach Mike's response would be to that? Whatever.
Yeah. When do we play?
Well, yeah.
We'll be there.
In fact, Brock and Salk, I believe, asked him about the Saturday game and all that stuff on the Mike McDonald coaches show, and his literal answer was, whatever.
Yeah.
Well, let's go play the football game, because he's not a crybaby, like crybaby Kyle. Yeah. And It's already in their head that they're at such a disadvantage because they got to play on Saturday. Oh,
Even though the game is in their stadium.
I mean, we don't have to go anywhere. We just got to stay here. They go play on Saturday. I just can't do it. I can't do it. Like, I can't stand that dude. All he does all day, every day, I'm convinced, is figure out how to blame anybody and everybody else for any problem that's ever arrived in his life. Like,
did
I
he catch
truly
the
believe.
Bruce Arians disease?
Oh, God, I think he might be like one of the co-founders of Bruce Arians disease. That's all he does is throw people under the bus. He's the most, out of the active coaches, I believe he's the one who takes the least amount of accountability of all of them. And he's already starting to make excuses going into this game. I'm a little bitter about it. Well, shove that up your butt, Kyle. Like, nobody cares.
When you talk about how he attacks defenses, though, it does bring up one like minor concern for me that, okay, if they start attacking seams, that's where we've seen Ty Okada have kind of an issue. And there is a chance that Kobe Bryant could be back this week. And if that's the case, I think it would be a little bit better to have Kobe out there against this Niners offense than it would be Ty. But Ty's played really well. But we have seen him kind of overcommit to especially stuff like that kind of happens in the middle of the field when he has to decide, oh, am I taking this deep guy or is this guy who's crossing the field? Like, which route am I going to take?
Yeah, maybe not quite as good on the back end in terms of coverage in comparison to Kobe, but he's been just an absolute missile coming down and getting in the box and, you know, screwing things
and so
up
I would rather have him for the outside stuff, for the outside, the horizontal stuff.
Yeah.
But Kobe for the vertical stuff.
Right. And Julian for all the stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'm just glad he's back.
I'm so stoked he's back because getting the pick last week, just showing that he's ready to roll and locked in. And this defense is playing at an A++ level in against an offensive line that has gotten better over the year, but not full of a bunch of world beaters. They're going to have their hands full against Leo and company. Like, good luck. Good
the way Leo's playing, the way Byron's playing, the way that D-Law's playing, like those three guys up front. And we haven't even brought up the idea that Derek Hall is going to be coming back and going to be super pissed off about being home for a week. And now he gets to go up against the 49ers and, maybe their backup tackle.
Yeah, absolutely. Take it out on them, D-Hall. Like, get after it. And he's going to be well rested as well. So that's a fun thing there. Look, when I'm going down and I'm looking at the Niners offensively, we talk about Christian McCaffrey. We talk about the idea of Kittle. Kittle always seems to get a bit of his against this team. Okay.
Juwan will
the guy
convert like 3 or 4 third downs on us.
And I'm going to go a direction here with one of their receivers just because I'm trying to reverse jinx like what has happened in the past with this guy. Demarcus Robinson for the Niners is maybe their best receiver by far and will catch everything and probably light us up for 2-3 touchdowns. And basically he's a blend between Jerry Rice and Terrell Owens, right? Like just maybe on pace to be one of the greatest because this is a guy that I crapped all over when he was on the Rams. And every time I was like, who is this guy? Like, who cares? He doesn't scare me. He come out and do big things. So this week, Demarcus Robinson is amazing. He's the best.
So do you cover Demarcus Robinson with a combination of Spoon and Woolen, or do you just go Spoon, Woolen, and Job?
Yeah, you basically play 4 on him at all times. You quadruple cover him, you double bracket him, and you call it a day. But I just wanted to put that out there about the great Demarcus Robinson for this upcoming weekend and hope for the best there. But the difference between the defenses, Seahawks, Niners, I think that's a massive chasm. I think the differences between the offenses, not as massive as a chasm at all. I'd say the Niners offense is probably a little better, but it's not leaps and bounds better.
Yeah. Shanahan is a schemer.
Of course he is. Look at his face. He looks like a schemer. Little rat face.
I feel like he's been accused of that in the past.
you could call it an accusation. Some of us can just call it speaking the truth. But yeah, whatever.
I feel like that also, like, it runs in the family too.
It does. It does. Yeah. Mike, maybe not the nicest guy in the world is maybe the best way to put it. A little bit of a schemer, a little bit of a backstabber, a little bit of a crybaby. Yeah.
You bring up the wide receiver there. I've already forgotten who we were talking about. Demarcus Robinson.
The great Demarcus Robinson.
Great Demarcus Robinson. What about the great Jake Tongas, who came out of nowhere to catch a touchdown against us in week 1?
That's the other thing when you're looking at this matchup, and if you do want to think back to the week 1 game, how many times does Reek Woolen miss on a play like that? And now, especially if you look at his play as the season's gone on, right? Yeah. I think we could all agree it's gotten better.
Yeah, that was one of those games where he got on our radar early of what is Reek doing out there? And I feel like ever since, I don't know, week 7, 8, it's been like awesome Reek Woolen.
Yeah, it really has. And this defense has tightened up. I honestly feel like the difference between week 1 defense and this week's defense is miles better. I really do.
And we held them to 17. So that's why it even seems a little bit crazy to me to think that they would score more points this time around. I'll give them 3. I think that's why it gets to 20 as the line, because of 3 extra points being at home.
There you go. Yeah, it makes sense to me.
That doesn't account for the improvement that we've seen from this defense. So I can talk myself out of that 20 points real easy.
What is the Vegas line for this game right now?
I think it was 44 points total. And
okay, and then what are I'm guessing the Niners are favored in this game because idiots.
Gosh, the idea that I would look at this is so beyond what I care about in terms of, because I never look at the lines week to week, apart from maybe when you guys bring it up. So they're
I was going to say, we do it on Blue Friday Bets, of course. So, yeah.
1.5 point favorites, and now the over-under is up to 49.5. So that puts it at, what? They think it would be, this
30 to 20 Hawks, something like that?
26-24 type game.
No, 30. Why would you even say that? 30 to 20 Hawks.
Oh, no. I mean, Vegas, they think it's going to be 26-24 because the spread's only a 1.5. So
I guess so. These teams are not that close. They are not in those same levels in this league. They really aren't. Once again, Rams, Seahawks at the big boy table, and Rams trying like hell to play themselves off of the big boy table and go back to the kiddie table on the side with the Niners, and then the Cards don't even get invited to dinner. So there's that. But
they get an invite to the table in terms of they have a game against the Rams this week.
That's true. We'll see what the Rams do too after that unbelievable in Atlanta. That was hilarious. What a great week to be alive.
It was almost perfect. If the Bears could have just held up their end of the deal. Although I'm kind of glad that the Bears won in a way, because it makes this game that much more relevant. There was this idea that if the Bears won over the Niners, then the Niners would essentially have that 6th spot solidified, and they wouldn't have any reason to really even play. It felt kind of gross, the idea that they would just rest guys against us in week 18. I like having a bye week, but that idea of, we got our spot locked up, we're just going to rest for ahead of the playoffs, we're going to throw out Mac Jones, and you're not going to see Christian McCaffrey. I don't know. This game is so much more fun now because they got that win over the Bears.
Sure. I honestly, this seems to bother you much more than it would have bothered me. If it would have gone that way and we just had to beat up on Niners backup, or the Niners backups to the backups because all of their starters are injured anyways, to get that number 1 seed, I wouldn't have bothered me a lick. That would have been a great time. I would have had a ball watching that football game. Just like I am on this Saturday, even with the stakes being a little higher after after Brock Purdy and company decided that they were going to breathe some hope into this fan base and let them think that the number 1 seed was within their control because they control their own destiny. I found that narrative to be hysterical for the last 3 to 4 weeks. Niner fans just talking all about how they're in control of their destiny. And I mean, sure, I guess, but really the people who are in control of this destiny are the Seattle Seahawks, and they've been there in that driver's seat ever since they came back and stole the Rams candy.
Another point on scoring points and offenses, I thought it was kind of interesting. There's only 2 teams in the NFL who have put up 2 non-NFC West teams that have put up 20 or more points against the Seahawks defense. Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Tennessee Titans. Those are the only 2 teams, the only 2 non-NFC West teams. Because if you look at the NFC West, the Niners are the only team that hasn't put up more than 20 points. Like the Cardinals somehow put up more than 20 against the Seahawks defense in both games. The Rams put up 20 or more in both games against the Seahawks defense. And that's it. Those are the only teams to score 20 plus points against this defense all season.
Here's why this will be the first time that they will not score 20 or more points. It's because defensively speaking for the Niners, they are at such a big disadvantage that I believe that time of possession is going to be wildly in favor of the Seahawks in this game as Ken Charbonnet runs it right down their throat and we see the play action come alive and Barner and JSN and Sheed are all involved in. Purdy's just not going to have that many opportunities to go down and score against the best defense in football. Did I mention he's playing the best defense in football? And good luck with that.
Yeah.
Like, I think when it's all said and done here, we're going to be looking at 30-17, something like that.
Ooh, I like that blowout type score. I was thinking it could be a little closer, like 23-20, but that's just me worrying about maybe some worst case scenarios being involved, and that ending up being relatively close, which a win is a win. But one other thing that I did look at, I'm glad that I think the way to win this game is to do it through time of possession. So, like in terms of counting stats, I would be much happier if we had 175 yards rushing than seeing JSN go out there and have more than 150 yards receiving. Like I feel like
1,000% agree.
That's the route. And one other thing that I did look at coming into this game was because it feels like this offense has shifted, and you notice that just the way they're getting their starts, like not a lot of points in the first halves lately. And I went and looked at the number of shots downfield, whether it's deep shots or even intermediate shots of 10 yards plus. The difference from what we've seen, and I use the Rams game just because with it being that 4 interception game or 4 turnover game as kind of that dividing line of, because it feels like the offense got to slower starts after that game as a whole. I think Tennessee, no, that was another slow game. All the points came in the second half. So, yeah, it really was a lot of, they have that ability to score points, but they're doing it all in the second half. And they're definitely reducing the number of downfield throws, deep shots, 20-plus yards, intermediate shots, 10-plus yards. They had pre that 4 turnover game, it was 12 first half deep shots. And post that Rams game, they've had 4 in the first half. So
wow,
it's drastic difference. You would expect it to be, I know there's more games, like 9 games ahead of that 10th game against the Rams. And then, 6 games since. So it's 3 games difference. But still, that differential, they've made a point to go away from that, because even intermediate throws, 10 plus, 30 pre that first Rams game, and only 14 posts. So They're definitely keeping everything under 10 yards, and barely even taking deep shots down the field. So my point is that I don't see that changing in this week, because I think they've kind of found their formula, even though, gosh, it stinks to have it be a close game at halftime. That's the formula that's kind of worked, and it's working to get the run game more involved, and it's obviously resulted in wins.
It has, and you use that Rams game as the demarcation line, and I think that's a good one to use, because what the Rams did in that game is they played a lot of lighter personnel. They didn't get into single high stuff a ton, and they dared us to beat them running the football. And at that point in the year, as they were still trying to find themselves, like, maybe not our strongest suit. And then you look since that game, Brandon, and you mentioned that most of the points come in the second half, and it's been slow starts and all that, and that's all true. But when it's all said and done here, you're looking at how many points they've scored in that time frame. They've only had one game since that first Rams game where they've scored less than 26 points. So even if it's slow coming on and you're running the football and you're setting things up and the avalanche comes in the second half, they have done it week in, week out, short of the Colts game. And that was more just a function of not executing well against the vibes and all of that. Like, that was just one of those games where there's outside factors that play into it more so than pretty much any other. So I have a lot of confidence in this offense, even if it doesn't look great to start out the game.
Well, it is going to be a fun matchup. And yeah, here we are. Normally we spend about a half of the first half of the show on one team that we're coming off the game, and half looking
Nobody
ahead.
cared.
And here we put in just about a full hour just previewing this matchup with the Niners. And I feel like there's probably stuff that we missed.
Without question. There's a zillion ways to look at this game. And you're going to hear other podcasters, whether they're Niners, Seahawks, National, whoever it is that you listen to, have completely different takes and different ideas and all of that. And that's what makes this game a lot of fun. But honestly, I feel like you wonderful 12 out there that's listening to this, have faith that, like, hey, this defense, we know what this team is, right? We've gotten to this point of the season, Brandon, that you can look at this football team and say, this is what it is. We're there. And that is, this defense is absolutely dominant. It's the best defense in the entire NFL. Get out of here with that Texans argument. I don't want to hear it. They are the best. They are the best. And the run game has been slowly coming to life, and it's been consistent. Sam has a turnover issue, but also we've seen that against mediocre or lesser teams, he almost always overcomes that, like with a lot of consistency. That's exactly what this Niners team is, so I feel pretty confident there. And we've seen that even against good teams, he does have the ability to overcome some of those mistakes in almost a Favrean kind of way, because that's the way that he kind of played the game. I still think he's 30% less talented than Brett Favre, but that's a different conversation. But idea being is Sam's enough. The run game's looking good. This defense is lights out, and you're going against a group that has overachieved all year. And again, I think it's adorable what they've done. It's awesome.
Yeah, and so you are going to hear those different takes from different shows, and I'm sure that if you're a Seahawks fan, you're listening to all of them. But if they're giving the Niners even a lick of a chance against this team, you're listening to the wrong show.
I would say so. And are we biased? All the bias, for sure. And it feels good when your bias is 100% correct. That's the best part. I can't wait for Sam to go out there and take the next bite out of this apple to slay the demon. Like, this is great. It's working out so well.
All right, let's get to the second half of the show.
Let's go.
As we get into the second half of the show, Adam, I don't know if you were saving this for Do Better or Better at Life. Probably not Better at Life, because what is the Hall of Fame doing to us? It's definitely more in the Do Better category. Is Earl Thomas not among the 15 finalists for the 2026 NFL Hall of Fame?
Yeah, that seems like a crazy oversight in, I guess. But what bottom line, what it comes down to is probably next year then. There's no way that he like never makes it into the Hall of Fame.
No, definitely not. It wouldn't be a never situation. Woodson's still on the ballot. He made the final 15 for this year. So
Yeah,
maybe
how is he not a Hall of Famer? Like, what are we doing?
I mean, okay. Part of me is kind of rooting for Woodson to get in because, like, Earl definitely was better than Darren Woodson. And so,
oh, Darren Woodson, not Charles Woodson?
No, not. Not. I think isn't Charles Woodson already in?
I thought so, but when you said the name, I was like, oh, I guess he hadn't made it yet.
No, when I said Woodson, I meant Darren Woodson of the Cowboys for 90s to early 2000s.
Wait, what? You're trying to tell me that they've got Darren Woodson as a finalist for the Hall of Fame over top of Earl Catfish Thomas?
Yes.
Do these voters watch football?
This is the only thing and I checked. Charles Woodson went in 2021, so he is, and we know he's a Hall of Famer. Darren Woodson,
yeah.
This feels like maybe his last chance, and so like again, I'm rooting for him to get in because there's zero question in my mind that Earl Thomas is better than Darren Woodson
by levels. Like Darren Woodson, that dude's not even a Hall of Famer in my opinion. He's in the Hall of pretty good.
I know. Well, there's a reason why he retired in 2003 and he's still not in. Like,
right. He just wasn't that kind of player. I'm not saying he was a bad player. He was just a cowboy.
Yeah.
Gross.
I know. It's so him making the final 15, that's why to me it was worthy of a discussion because what are we doing here?
What are we doing here? Good Lord.
So the 15 finalists, Willie Anderson, tackle for the Bengals for so long, Drew Brees.
Really good. Yep.
Drew Brees, probably first ballot. Jari Evans, maybe should be first ballot, but maybe, who knows? Larry Fitzgerald, obvious first ballot. Like, if he's not first ballot, like, what are we even doing? Frank Gore, like, he can wait a little bit. Torrey Holt, he's had a long time. I know you're questionable whether he even will make it at all. Luke Kuechly is an interesting one to me because while Hall of Famer, like, I don't know if he's first ballot, but definitely should get in. And I could see him even going in first ballot because, like, during that stretch, he was all-pro linebacker.
Yeah, he was the second best linebacker in the league during that stretch.
Yeah, but Bobby's still playing, so it's not like he has to compete with Bobby Wagner. On
the ballot. Yeah, no, they just had to like compete on the field as to who was better, and Bobby was. So
yeah, Eli Manning probably gets in. I don't know if he'd be first ballot for me.
Really? Do you think Eli Manning probably gets in?
I think he probably gets in just because of who he is and who he beat for those two titles.
I wouldn't fight it. I'll put it to you like that. I'm not sure it's a lock, though.
No, that's why I don't think he would be
Two
necessarily.
chips,
That's why I don't think it would be first ballot necessarily, because there's so many other guys like Adam Vinatieri. But sometimes they don't put kickers in right away either. So even though that would be the most no-brainer of kickers in the Hall of Fame of all time.
Yeah, because NFL treats kickers like they're in a caste system and like they're just like a lesser individual.
Right. And then rounding out the 15 is Reggie Wayne, Kevin Williams, Jason Witten, Darren Woodson, Marshall Yanda.
You know, it's funny. You go through the list, and really the only name that I go, what are we even talking about, is Darren Woodson.
It's the one. If Earl Thomas were in this 15, it would be like, okay, this 15 makes sense. Not all of these guys are going to get in, but all these guys are going to get in eventually.
Exactly. Huh. Okay. Well, Whatever, Canton people, but catfish, you're dude.
Yeah. So the only
this is ridiculous.
The only guy, a former Seahawk, well, I guess Jari Evans counts in terms of practice squad, but Kevin Williams did spend 1 year here in Seattle.
He's a good player.
Oh yeah, Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or should be.
Yeah.
Maybe not yet.
Not yet, but he'll get there.
Maybe, and maybe this is the better at life aspect. Maybe the Hall of Fame committee looks at us and they say, okay, Richard Sherman is a first ballot next year. And so you got Richard Sherman, you got Marshawn Lynch, who still, for whatever reason, didn't even make the list of finalists. You got Earl Thomas, who should be a finalist. All three, those guys, you get Belichick in this year, then you can put Mike Holmgren back on the ballot and get Mike Holmgren in. You give us 4 Hall of Famers all in 1 year next year. That way it makes it super easy for all 12s to travel to Canton, and we just watch everybody go into the Hall of Fame together.
I'd take that in typical fashion that happens to the team that plays in Southeast Alaska. The deck has to be cleared of all of the other franchises and their good players before our good players get an ounce of freaking recognition. It makes all the sense. Couldn't happen any other way. Do it all at once, as you said. I'm booking my ticket to Ohio at that point. I'm sure you are as well. And we'll go cheer them on. But of course, we have to wait a little extra longer for the recognition.
Yeah. Well, it would be kind of neat to see Earl and Sherm go in together, like at the very least. And you, well, I don't know what we're waiting for with Marshawn either, but whatever. I guess we had to wait for Frank Gore to get in.
Yeah, who I respect, and I think he was a heck of a back. I see him a lot like Torrey. He's in that Torrey Holt realm to me, where more of a compiler. And I mean, that's its own thing for sure. I don't look at compilers as Hall of Famers.
Right. But some players who did compile were also Hall of Famers.
Yeah, occasionally.
Like Larry Fitzgerald, who has the number 2 receiving yards in the entire NFL.
I don't even think of Fitz as a compiler. He didn't stick around too long and just have a bunch of seasons where he was, mediocre.
Yeah.
He was awesome until he decided he just didn't want to play anymore. Right. I think the ultimate case study for compilers to me, always and forever, and I know you balk at this, is Tim Brown. That is the number one. Like if you're looking at it, that's the way I kind of view it.
Yeah, and a Hall of Famer, but maybe not dominant. He had to.
Never was dominant.
He had to contend though with Jerry Rice being and Steve
a Hall of
Largent
Famer
being the
a Hall of Famer.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's the line. You see what I'm getting at, right?
Yeah.
Like greats are Hall of Famers. Hall of Very Good are compilers like Tim Brown.
Wait, so is Andre Reed's in the Hall of Fame, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, he went in 20.
Did he finally make it?
Yeah.
Never.
I think he went in ahead of Tim Brown.
And I'm a big Andre Reed guy, but I'm not sure that I see Andre Reed as a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Yeah, Andre Reed went in the season before Tim Brown.
Okay. Because I know they were talked about a lot in the same breath, right?
Well, it was also kind of, I don't know, it feels like a time where maybe it was more skewed toward getting some of those offensive dudes in. But some other first ballot guys next year, Ben Roethlisberger, Rob Gronkowski, which it'd be cool to get Gronk into the Hall of Fame. You got to get Gronk and Marshawn in the same year. So obviously then you put Gronk in first ballot. Adrian Peterson.
That would be the greatest
Hall of Fame class
speeches of ever, right? Between Sean and Gronk, that would be amazing.
That would be good. So, other first ballot guys: Adrian Peterson, Antonio Brown, which is, I'm very interested to see. Like, he can't get in, right? Like, even though like you would look at him and put him up against any receiver in NFL, like. He has He has Hall of Fame numbers, but not a Hall of Fame player.
A stretch, yeah.
Oh, he was the best receiver in football for like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I'd say 2-3 years maybe.
Yeah.
I don't think it was 4 or 5. I'll put it to you like this. If Terrell Owens isn't a Hall of Famer, then Antonio Brown certainly is.
Oh, well, Terrell got in.
Did he finally get in?
Yeah, I think they made him wait till third ballot, maybe. Because I think they made Randy wait even a year, and then so it was like an extra year.
I mean, if that dude isn't a first ballot Hall of Famer, I don't know.
Yeah, the fact that Randy Moss had to wait a year, very weird. But here's another name that I know you'll love of being a first ballot guy, Eric Weddle.
Negative ghostwriter.
I'm just saying he'll be up for the Hall of Fame. Like he'll be on the ballot next year.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic for Eric Weddle. I'm very happy for him.
And Andrew Whitworth.
Mm-hmm.
So
that dude's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
He was dominant as a left tackle for 2 different organizations. It did it for a long time. Okay.
Not sure if he'll get him first ballot, being like 2 All-Pros, but he'll get in eventually. Yeah. All right. So that is our look at the Hall of Fame voting and Earl Thomas's second-year snub, which, again, if they're doing it to think of us, then thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that. Do you think Sam Darnold is a first ballot Hall of Famer after he beats the 49ers this Saturday?
I mean, why would I think they'll probably waive the 5-year waiting period and just induct him, like, and also waive the requirement of like having people vote. They'll just put him into the 2026 class, insert him after he wins the Super Bowl this year, because it'll be a stone cold lock by that point. For
sure. I mean, they kind of give him a ginger handicap there, right? Because like there's not many ginger athletes out there in the world. Like being part ginger, like I understand, like we just don't have it. We don't have it. So he was able to overcome that. And yeah, maybe you give him the exception then.
You had Blake Griffin for a hot minute. And
yeah, exactly.
You got Sam Darnold. So, which was a delightful part of the broadcast, going back to the Carolina Panthers game with the dude that was dubbed Stan Darnold.
That was fun.
Maybe the most entertaining part of that game, apart from our Seahawks winning.
Oh, that wasn't the most entertaining part for me. The most entertaining part for me was watching Noodle Arm Bryce go out there and crap the bed and be the backup that he absolutely is.
That's a good point. I know that was the most entertaining for you.
Oh, it was joyous.
Well, a group of folks that I know are entertained by the show each and every week, and it is our executive producers. We've got DCH. We've got Ryan Peterson, our live YouTube executive producer. We've got Brian Shaw, JC Schilling, and the 313th, and of course, Stephen Kirkpatrick. And Stephen was right on top of it, coming in with the score donation, 27-10. As soon as the game, like as soon as Carolina started taking knees at the end of the game, I feel like is when that donation came in.
And that was early. That was really early.
Yeah. They said, no Moss, the game is over. We concede. And we've got other opponents to prepare for, apparently.
Have you ever seen a team take knees before the 2-minute warning?
I think Nimhauser put it out that, or somebody like the ESPN stats people, that was like the 3rd time in history that knees were taken ahead of the 2-minute warning or right about the 2-minute warning.
Okay. Also, when the discussion has swirled about that, do you think it was as atrocious? Because listening to Panther fan, and they're beside themselves about lots of things from that game, but that's certainly one of them. And they really hate it. And I'm curious where your head's at on that one.
I thought it made all the sense, especially after watching a game this year where we saw a legit quarterback go down in the final, 4 minutes was it in the Washington game where Jaden Daniels bent his arm backwards and that when they had zero chance in coming back from that game. Now, okay, is there an argument that you run Andy Dalton out there and close out the final drive with some backup dudes just to give them a chance? Like, okay, if you're going to do it, then that would have been the way to do it, but you don't put out your starting guys out there, then I'm fine with it either way, because essentially it's the same outcome, and you know that you're it's just weird to see a turnover on downs from kneeling the football. It is weird.
It does look weird in the stat sheet, no doubt about it. But I thought it was 1,000% the right call. And I find it just unbelievably baffling listening to Panther reaction. I actually popped in. Remember Panther podcast dude popped in? Panther Prime podcast? Yeah, popped in and, threw a few comments in there. Yeah. Yeah, and there was a lot of Panther fans that are calling for Canales' head, and just that this was all Canales' fault. And I can't believe that. Like, he survives your crap ass owner. I can't believe their reactions to Canales. They want his head, and I just can't figure it out for the life of me. Number one, he overcomes one of the worst owners in all of sports, not just NFL, in sports. He overcomes a terrible roster up and down when you consider your quarterback can barely play D1 ball in college, and your defense is full of a bunch of guys that try real hard, and one potential Hall of Famer and Mike Jackson, and then the rest of them. And he's overcome all of that to make you guys relevant, and you want him gone?
Makes no sense.
What are we doing?
Who did Panthers fans expect to put out there that would score 17 points in the final 2 minutes of the game?
I don't know. I don't know.
What
Jesus Christ! I don't like, because you'd have to walk on water to make it happen.
He would invent the 9-point play, and they would do it in back-to-back drives after getting the onside kick.
That makes sense. Maybe you should have put Jeebus out there.
Very humble of Jesus to only invent the 9-point play instead of the 18-point play, so you do it on 2 drives.
Well, he's not a look at me kind of guy, right? Like, he definitely, hung out for a minute and then took off, and he just wants to stay out of the spotlight. Been doing it for about 3,000 years, staying out of the spotlight. So.
All right. Well, one other person I want to make sure we put in the spotlight, Jeremiah, who's a new member of our YouTube channel. So welcome to the flock to Jeremiah.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. That's awesome. We love having more members in there with the YouTube channel. And hey, we're only, 10, 20, 30 subs away from 6,000 subs on the channel, which that's a big marker for us, especially going into next year. We'd love to get there. If you would just give us a sympathy subscribe, just do that. That'd be great. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe we've been setting our goals too low. I feel like after this Niners win, we should be at 10,000. So let's just skip over all the other milestones and go straight to 10.
All right, I'll put it to you like this, dear listener. If you don't want to do the subscribe button now, when we beat the Niners on Saturday by, let's say, 14 or more, you're required to come back and hit the subscribe button, because somebody told you. This podcast right here, we told you that's how it was going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody else out there saying that we're winning by 14. So remember, you heard it here, and then hit the subscribe button. Like, or do it now, because you just recognize us as
better.
We see the game, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ball knowers, right here.
Absolutely.
Also want to thank the $12 members and above here coming up at the end of the show. But before we get to our 12-12 supporters and above, we've got to bring in our Pick'em League overlord and recognize Evie. Dear underlings, Merry Christmas from the UK. Santa brought you all good Hawkra as you all picked the Seahawks to beat the Panthers, and they did. Just the 49ers to go next week, and if you beat them, you will win your little league, so you all better pick that way, as I'll be watching. This week's winner was a mystery wrapped in a question mark. Sorry, I'm having to do this on Dad's phone as we are away at my grandma's, and I can't make the column extend. With 11 correct picks and the closest score prediction. Overall, Obu's daddy is out in front with 178 correct picks. With Love Is All You Need, 3 back on 175. Dad is clinging on in third with 173, tied with Boise Hawk. There are 5 people then in joint 5th place with 172 picks right. Hope you all got some Seahawks stuff for Christmas. Mom found Dad a pair of Funko Pop Seahawks players in a joint box. One only has one hand. Dad has tried to explain how he could play, but he bores me. But he seems very happy with the present. Have an awesome New Year's. Go Hawks. Love, Evie.
Hey, go Hawks. Love you back, Evie. Appreciate it a ton. And look, I don't know any daughter that doesn't find their dad like just a little boring. I know mine does.
Yeah, I've got 3 of them, and it's that's how it goes.
Yeah, you were talking about how you get like subscriber cred with your kids.
A little bit, just because I throw it at them.
Okay, well, I mean, my daughter from the word jump has just been like, everything this is right here, this guy, and that's your face. What a joke. Like, she thinks it's hysterical.
Well, I just throw it out to them. Like, how many of your friends have, almost 6,000 YouTube subscribers? I bet not many.
That's right. Yeah. Well,
So, yeah.
make sure you let them know how much more successful you are than
They told me
children.
I'd never get to 6K. In fact, they said it's all downhill from here.
Oh,
They didn't say that.
shit.
I'm trying to spark people to subscribe just to
that's
show
right.
my kids.
Yeah.
that,
No, prove all 3 of his daughters wrong. Like, he needs some help, boys and girls. Like, there's a lot of estrogen in that household. Like, that he's got to compete against. That's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, I got the boy animals. That's all I got.
There you go. Exactly. And they can't really speak up. So
No.
no,
And 2 of them are cats. That doesn't really count.
no, cats don't count. Absolutely.
All right. Well, a big thanks to Evie coming in. A big thanks to all of our Pick'em League folks. I now that it's the new year, I'll go ahead and make my New Year's resolution. I'm going to get some prizes out.
Love it, man. No, that's great. And I appreciate you doing that. And people will be excited to see that coming. Look, at the end of the day, we've made no promises of timeliness, but it always happens.
Right.
Which is like everything in my life, I feel like.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Making promises. It'll get done when it gets done.
That's right. Exactly. Don't pigeonhole us with a time frame or a schedule. Clinton. I mean, anybody.
On to do better and better at life.
I just wanted to make fun of Clinton for a second because I miss him today. All right. So my do better this week, Brandon, is for the national media in Vegas. Because I don't know if you noticed, but I surely did. When the Seahawks beat the Rams a couple weeks ago and took control of the NFC West and their own destiny going forward and the number 1 seed, the talk all the way up to that week was, oh, the Rams are the best team in football, and we trust the Rams more than anybody, and, blah, 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 blah. And, and there's Sam, so, Seahawks also, they're in Seattle. We can't talk about them. They're no good. So we go out there, we slay the dragon, we take control of our destiny, control of the NFC West, and instead of, in that moment, everybody turning their attention to Seattle and giving us some props for and Mike McDonald some props for possible coach of the year, which I think he should be right in that discussion. What does everybody do? They all switch their attention over to the pathetic San Francisco Santa Clara 49ers. And oh my gosh, look at this. Since the Seahawks went, now the Niners are in control of their own destiny. And look at the Niners and everything that they've accomplished this year. And Kyle Shanahan for coach of the year because Niners and San Francisco and bigger market and blah, 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 blah. And you would think that this would all subside at some point here. But no, it doesn't. In fact, it only gets worse, Brandon, because when you look at what the conversation is out there on the internet, and then you look at what Vegas says coming into this game. And again, they have to take into the account the popular opinion out there, right?
Yeah.
This isn't always just what Vegas thinks is going to happen.
Well,
The
it's people
Seahawks
putting
are-
their money where their feelings are.
Right. Public teams, all of that. And look, the Seahawks are a favorite to win the Super Bowl, but they aren't the favorite. You know why? Because they share plus 550 odds with the fucking Niners. With the Niners.
With the Niners, not the Rams?
No, with the Rams. I'm sorry, I got that wrong. With the effing Rams, who are locked into the 6th seed because they're on a 2-game skid with their bad defense and a full meltdown at the end of the year here as they peak too early in their freaking season. There's still people out there saying, oh, I believe in the Rams way more than I do the Seahawks, even though it's been proven this season by record, because that's what happens when you play the games. The Seahawks are coming out on top here, and the Rams are a lesser football team. They're the number 6 seed. That's why they're the number 6 seed. And you've got them at equal odds. But guess what? They still have the Niners at plus 850. It's not like they even have them outside of the top favorites here. And it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I can't believe this. I'm so sick of the disrespect, and I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated to my core, and so that's why I want these Seahawks to go out and steal the soul of crybaby catfish as Kyle and that entire organization and make everybody recognize that we are the Super Bowl favorite going into this year. So to Vegas, all those national shows, do better.
Help me make sense of this.
I can't.
But let me lay it out for you. Because, okay, when you said that the Niners Seahawks were tied, that kind of made sense to me because like both they both have an opportunity to have home field advantage,
right?
Technically, right? Like, because the game on Saturday hasn't been played yet. So that would I would understand that in terms of betting perspective. With them being Seahawks being 550, the Niners being 850, and yet the Niners are favored in this upcoming game. How are the Niners favored to win this game against the Seahawks, but less favored to win the Super Bowl than the?
Hard telling, not knowing, man. I don't get it. I don't get why anybody thinks that the Niners are even in the same class as this Seahawks team, and they don't see through the mirage of their pathetically easy last place schedule from last year because they were so bad last year they finished behind the Cardinals even. Mm-hmm. I just wow. It's unbelievable to me. And then the hold that McVay has over the national media and is just it makes my gag reflex like just initiate every time because it's disgusting.
That's been the most fun part of the folding against the Falcons is people essentially feeling like they had to throw Matt Stafford like completely out the window as a possible MVP candidate.
Yeah. Which is hilarious because honestly, I'd still probably put Stafford as the MVP for the favorite.
I mean, clearly the most valuable on that team.
Yes.
And
yes. No Stafford, no playoffs for that team. Like that's pretty obvious.
And
I think the Seahawks still make the playoffs with Drew Lock running the show.
And Stafford has a bad game, and that's they still almost had a chance in that game against the Falcons.
That Puka catch, it wasn't a catch because it wasn't a catch.
Oh, the
I've
one
even
on the
heard
sideline?
people. I've heard some Rams homers be like
arguing that was a catch.
That was a catch. The ball floated for a second in the middle. It floated. What do you mean it floated? That means you don't have catfish possession.
Yeah, and by the time he regained possession, his feet weren't touching the ground, or his feet weren't in bounds anymore.
Right, which, I mean, I know we all don't know what a catch is for the most part, but, like, we can all agree, by rule, that wasn't a catch. Like, in your heart, do you think that should be a catch? Probably, because it was kind of impressive. But
it was very impressive. Like, and
kind
I think
of impressive. Don't give him too much credit.
That's why if we're going off of impressiveness in almost catches, then like if we want to put that in the rule book, that would be very hard to legislate. But like that would be the rule book picture of this is so impressive we should give it to him.
Right.
But there's no point in that. Like I saw way more people looking at that play and the replay that also shows the ball coming loose and going, well, that's an obvious catch. Like, are you watching the full play? Like,
do you have eyeballs? Do you know to watch the football?
Watch where the football and his hand and his fingers then close where it was holding the football, and then it's not holding the football anymore. And that's where that play goes to not being a catch anymore.
Yeah, when you're not holding the football and it's floating in the air, like that doesn't mean that you still have possession. That doesn't. It means you don't have possession because you don't have possession. It's much like my frustration of like forward is forward and backward is backward and like to the side is to the like. Well, I don't understand how just basic catfish is something that
when Sam Darnold's arm stops going backward and begins going forward, that's where the forward pass starts.
That's forward because forward is freaking forward. Yeah, like. I don't know, man.
You don't go like when the football crosses the plane of his vision as forward. No, it starts when his arm actually starts going forward.
Yeah. Just unbelievable. Or debating whether or not that 2-point against the Rams was a lateral or a backward pass. It's like, what are we talking about? Like, in what universe is any of that forward? None of it's forward. At worst, it's a lateral. Like, I don't know. Maybe our entire country is directionally challenged. I have no idea.
That could be very possible. One organization that is directionally challenged is the Las Vegas Raiders because they seem to like even when you think that they can't go down anymore, they find another way to go down. And we talk about franchises that sometimes can't even seem to get out of their own way. And going into the season, like. We thought, as Seahawks fans, that hiring Pete Carroll, especially for a franchise like the Raiders, who had struggled to find a coach that could build the type of culture that could kind of get them out of this losing type culture that they've seemed to cultivate for so many years, that Pete Carroll could at least okay, he's not the long-term answer as head coach, but at least he could get you back and going in the right direction. And this latest move by the Raiders make me think that there is no hope for this because this past week they decided that Max Crosby, that even though you can kind of still do stuff and you would be able to play, you're too hurt to go out there because, I don't know, we might want to use you as a trade chip in the offseason, so we're just going to shut you down. And to me,
what was that? Max Crosby might be a trade chip. I want that to come to fruition. Yeah, please continue. Yeah,
maybe I threw that in there because, well, for one, I think that's the only reason why you do this. Because if you're a franchise trying to turn things around, you want to do it with your best talent and your best coaches, and you're going to, as an ownership group, get out of the way. And the way that I know that this is an ownership group type decision or a GM type decision, there is no way that Pete freaking Carroll is sitting down Max freaking Crosby for the final games of the season. Always compete. Pete Carroll isn't telling Max Crosby, oh, just go ahead and take this last week off ahead of the season because, you've done well so far. Max Crosby doesn't want to sit down. He's made that clear. And I think based on Pete's responses to questions, it's clear that he's not the guy. So this is a franchise that can't get it out of its own way. They're probably going to work themselves into having to trade Max Crosby because if they don't do it by the draft, they're going to be in a Micah Parsons type situation, I think, by the start of the regular season. And then they're going to get even less return off of their Max Crosby investment. So for mismanaging this whole situation, the Las Vegas Raiders do better.
The only thing I wonder about this, by having Max sit out and having Max basically put them on blast by showing videos of himself playing with his daughter in his home gym, shooting basketballs and jumping on the trampoline, being like, see how stable my knee is? Like, I can do things. Like, this is ridiculous that they're keeping me out. Does that raise Max's value a little bit? Like, because teams are like, that's the type of guy I want. I want a guy that's a warrior that even if he does need a little bit of cleanup off-season knee surgery, he's like, I want to play. And so maybe unintentionally that gets the Raiders a little bit more when they do have to jettison him, because he's got to be done with them, right? I mean, despite Pete's best efforts.
I think so. And that's why, but I think that this mismanagement piece would continue because I think that does up his value. teams would want to then trade for him ahead of the draft to, well, the Raiders would get the best value trading him ahead of the draft, which is what the Cowboys should have done with Micah. And they thought that somehow they could manage their way out of that situation, and they couldn't.
They kind of ended up doing it, though.
Because he's that good.
Well, yeah, and they actually turned that into Quinnen Williams.
Could they have gotten more? I think they could have gotten more ahead of the draft, though.
That's a fair argument, yeah.
As much as they got. But he's a real good player. I would like Max Crosby on my team, yes. Could you imagine if D-Law comes back for another year? You got D-Law on one side, Max Crosby on the other, Leo, Byron Murphy, that front four.
Yeah, I'm picturing it right now. You know what I'm seeing?
I'm
seeing not one, not two, not three, but 5 championships, like all in a row. Like if I go full LeBron here, like when he joined the Heatles. Yeah. And all
but
that.
Then what did they get to?
I don't know, but it was enough for him to justify the whole thing, and he had a good time doing it, I think. So if we only got 2 more championships by bringing Max Crosby in, I think I'd be good with it. I'd settle.
It's a double of what our current trophies are. That would be okay.
Yeah, man. Hey, at least our trophies are this century. I find it hilarious listening to people talk about their trophies from a completely different era and being like, well, we got more trophies than you do. Oh, that's neat. Like, I think rotary phones were a thing back then. And like,
rotary phones, at least our championship video was released on a Blu-ray disc. And I think the Niners' last championship video was released on VHS.
No, it was beta, and because it was that old. And I don't even think we had to wear seatbelts in cars the last time the Niners won a championship.
We still had unlimited speed limits in Montana the last time the Niners won their championship.
That's exactly right. Yeah, back then. It wasn't even that fast because we were still driving horse-drawn carriages back then.
That's why you didn't need a speed limit.
So long ago. Yeah. Well, stupid faithful. God, I can't stand them. I can't wait. I can't wait for this weekend, man. Let's go Saturday.
They're wearing their faithful jerseys. Their rivalry jerseys that have that little faithful calligraphy on them.
God, they're so adorable. They even call each other and dress up the same for the game. It's so cute. It's so cute. I love it. Can't wait to see them there in Levi's. You know what was cute this weekend too, Brandon, is my Better at Life than Skip is. This was... Maybe it's levels above cute. Maybe it was just amazing. Maybe I'm just happy on the inside for the Atlanta Falcons who go out and just destroy the Rams in their chances in the playoffs by just demoting them down to the 6th seed. Make everybody that has half a brain when they watch football have doubts about this Rams team. That brought so much joy to my life, seeing Bijan just tear them up. It was so great. And look, a big thank you to that entire organization because I make fun of you relentlessly, and I think it's all deserved. But what a holiday gift. I just want to thank Raheem Morris and Arthur Blank and even old-ass Kirk Cousins in his one leg for getting it done against the Rams. So much fun. Atlanta Falcons, better at life than Skip Bayless.
Well, Adam, they are also my co-better at life this week. I also had the Atlanta Falcons down because for the Rams this week, the NFL had set it up perfectly for the Rams. After the Niners and Seahawks game was scheduled for Saturday, the Bucs and Panthers game, it was scheduled for Saturday early on in the morning. So the NFL had set it up. They were going to allow the Rams to watch the Niners and Seahawks game and then decide. They were going to essentially let the Rams decide whether or not that they wanted to actually put in an effort in Week 18 versus the Cardinals, because they would have then been able to choose their playoff opponent. If they go out there and win, then they knew who they were playing. If they go out there and lose, they know that they who they're going to be playing. Now, with the Falcons getting that win, It has thrown a complete wrench into this, and now they don't have a choice necessarily of whether or not they need to go out there and rest starters or not, because McVay made it very clear this week. He's like, we have to go out and play because we have to play better. And so they forced their hand, the Atlanta Falcons, by beating the Rams, forced their hand to then actually having to play in Week 18 against the Arizona Cardinals. And, it has been such a glorious week watching Sean McVay and knowing that, plus the Falcons, they made the Rams draft pick that much worse by getting the win. And so thank you for that. Atlanta Falcons, better at life than Skip Bayless.
Absolutely. I'm glad you added that in. I wanted to add that as the cherry on top, is the Rams couldn't even make their own draft pick better that they had suckered the Falcons out of. That's awesome. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful weekend of football because the Rams go down and the Niners defense looks like a literal rolling grease dumpster fire. And it just makes me happy going into this weekend.
Beautiful weekend of football coming up, a beautiful new year looking ahead. And as part of this beautiful new year, I want to start it by thanking our $12 members and above, Adam.
Let's go.
Keith Kedover, a.k.a. Flocktimus Prime, University of Cybertron, Little Flockers, roll out.
DCH from Sparks, Nevada, the University of Montana Grizzlies.
Gary Blum from Chappaqua, New York, and the University of Pennsylvania, your 2016 Pick'em League champion.
Ron Pepper, UNLV Runnin' Rebels, San Francisco, California.
Hello, this is Hawk Van Dyke, the 2024 champion of the Ring of Honor Fantasy Football League.
Lisa in Seattle.
Samuel Gelber, NoHo, California.
David Van Cleve, Camas, Washington, home of the Papermakers.
Leo Jose, Luleå, Sweden, from Luleå Eskimos and Rennes France.
Aaron Fisher, coming in from Henderson, Nevada. Go Hawks!
Marty from Down Under, Australia. Go Hawks!
Chris Boucher, a.k.a. the biggest little flocker, South Central Louisiana State University. Go Mud Dogs.
Hey, it's JC Schilling, back from Germany, living on beautiful Whidbey Island now with Quinn and Hudson. Go Hawks!
Hey, Seahawkers. My name is Garen Taylor. I live in one of the most beautiful places in the world, North Idaho. Hashtag on the roads. Go Hawks.
You heard from executive producers DCH and JC Schilling. Also a big thanks to executive producers Ryan Peterson, Brian Shaw, and Stephen Kirkpatrick. And continuing down the list of $12 supporters and above, starting with Rebecca in Manhattan Beach, Christina in Manassas, Virginia, Craig in Camas, Jeremy in the Bronx, Sven in Berlin, Deutschland, Kevin in Great Glen, England, Brian in Omak, Jay in Linwood, Jake in Seattle, Pepper in Greenville, South Carolina, Brandon in Huntersville, North Carolina, Jonathan in Ridgefield, Kevin in Surrey, BC, JC in Horsford, England, Brian in Berlin, Connecticut, Connie in Gothenburg, Sweden, Marvin in Riverdale, Utah, Jeffrey in Kansas City, Glenn in Ocoee, Florida, John in New York, Patrick in Sacramento, Bryson in Eltopia, Jeremy in Federal Way, Paul in Portland, Daniel C. in the Greater Hawkdom, Norma in the Greater Hawkdom, Ken in Hutto, Texas, Mario in Seattle, Jeannie in Seattle, Anders in Vejle, Denmark, Rafe in Beaverton, Oregon, Cora in Ditters, Deutschland, JC in the Greater Hawkdom, Warren in Dundee, Oregon, Chris in Austin, Eugene in Henderson, Nevada, Amy in Squim, Jeff in Bainbridge Island, Richard in Killeen, Texas, Marlon in the Greater Hawkdom, Joseph in Vancouver, Alexander in Oranienburg, Deutschland, Jamie in Oswestry, England, DJ in Menifee, California, Joshua in the Greater Hawkdom, John in Toano, Virginia, Jeff in Gilbert, Arizona, Jason in Panama City, Florida, Mark in Bexkey Heath, England, Greg in Lake City, Colorado, Sean in Cascade, Iowa via Kalispell, Montana, Oliver in Fort St. John, BC, Ian in Seattle, B-Walls 22 in New York, Ovary Smasher 69 in Phoenix, Russell in Harpenden, England, Sam in Altamont Springs, Florida, Chris in Manchester, England, Corey in Robertson, Australia, Ranger Luke in DuPont, Charles in Bremerton, Nathan in Fife, Ken in Stanwood, Stu in Navarre, Florida, RJ in Bucyrus, Kansas, The Poetrist in Boise, Idaho, Martin in Ferrum, Denmark, Root in the Greater Hockdom, Carlos in Tacoma, Mark in Everett, Jack in San Diego, Mike in Snohomish, Yokai Hawk in Nakatsugawashi, Japan, and Mo Hawk in the Greater Hockdom. There it is, our list of $12 supporters and above. Happy New Year to everybody. Happy holiday season to everybody. And happy playoff bye week coming up for everyone as well.
It's going to be awesome. Can't wait to chat with all you guys on Discord when we are drubbing the San Francisco 49ers. It's going to be a great time. And just big thanks to you guys, man. All of the support, $12 a month and above is massive. It really does make a big deal in our lives. And, this year has been yet another amazing year for us as a show, and the growth and the support and everything, just awesome. So thank you a ton.
It's what helps us keep going. Plus, our Seahawks having a really, really good season. It also helps us keep going. But we would be here regardless. But this has been one of the more fun seasons that we've had doing the show for sure.
Oh, without question, great time. And look, if it wasn't even this good of a season for the Seahawks, I would still be having fun and still be invested, because my sports hate runs over. Like, the cup runneth over.
If you didn't have an outlet for it, what would you do?
I don't know, but people would be in danger, I think. And it's just so much fun to watch McVay melt down at the end of the year here and see Crybaby Kyle, everything. I can't wait. Can't wait to see you guys on Saturday. Faithful. It's going to be hilarious. Super Bowl practice, Brandon. Here we go.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.